In the mid-90s, there was a renaissance in the arcades. Tons of fighting games showed up, driving games, and of course, light gun games. I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I review 3 light gun games for the PlayStation 1.
Second Opinion Games.
In the very beginning of light gun games, you basically just shot everything on screen as fast as humanly possible. Time Crisis really showed up and completely changed the formula, adding a pedal on the ground that you would step on to shoot everything as fast as possible, and then let your foot off the pedal, take cover, and reload your gun and jump back out and shoot everything as fast as possible. This simple change really added quite a bit of depth to what would be a standard bland shooter. So I saw it for the first time and fell completely in love. Eventually I got so good at the game that I would beat it on a single credit. My initials were on every single slot of the top 20 in my arcade at home, and completely loved the game. When it showed up on the PlayStation 1 though, I totally took a pass because I thought I mastered it. And a lot of people gave me a lot of slack for putting it on my top 10 hidden gems for the PlayStation 1 list, but I did so because I didn't know about the original scenario game on this disc, and I fell in love all over again. But this isn't really the game I want to talk about for this review. No, instead, I want to talk about Gunfighter: The Legend of Jesse James. The game was made by Ubisoft and Rebellion. Now, Rebellion really cut their teeth on the Atari Jaguar, making games like Aliens vs. Predator and the superb Checkered Flag. So, you know, they were really known for a mixed bag when it comes to quality, and it really shows here. It's similar to Time Crisis in the fact that it's a duck and cover shooter, but it's graphically a bit toned down and significant amount darker. The storyline is that you are Jesse James, and your partner gets kidnapped and strung up to hang, and your girlfriend gets stolen and taken away by another outlaw. So there's competing outlaws here. There's no lawmen in town anywhere, so of course Jesse James has to take the law into his own hands by killing, you know, everyone. Because this game was made for the home console, they sprinkle life pretty much everywhere inside of little boxes. Also, extra time clocks are just all over the place, so you're probably not going to run out of time unless you're absolutely horrible at this game. The hitboxes on all the characters are quite a bit bigger than Time Crisis, so even novice shooters should be able to pass through pretty darn quick. There's also people that tend to jump out all the freaking time in this game, and because the character models are so dark, you'll probably shoot a couple of them, and instead of losing health or life, you just lose quite a bit of time. Now there's also a little bit of variety to the game. After a short time of playing, you can unlock a shooting gallery mode, where you have to really remember to zero in your sights with your light gun, otherwise you're not going to be able to hit things. But this is a nice welcome addition. In the game itself, occasionally you can jump on a Gatling gun, mowing everything down in sight, and it does feel like a bit of a downgrade to your regular pistol, but I really like how it breaks up the monotony. The learning curve here is a bit off. The third level, the mine, I think is the hardest level in the game, and there's only 6 levels before you see the end of it. I do really like the train level though, and the ability to move through the train to eventually stop it and save your girlfriend who has been tied to the tracks is beautiful. At the very end of the game, it is so cool. Basically, it's a showdown with the main baddie, and you have 1 bullet to draw and shoot when the clock strikes whatever the heck time it is. As soon as you hear the chime, you pull down and shoot them, and the game just ends. It's over that quick. It's about 2 hours from start to finish, even if you're moderately okay at light gun games. And sure, it might be dark, and it might not look that good, but it is a great time, and if you've already mastered Time Crisis, well, then this one was a no-brainer. The next game I want to talk about is Die Hard Trilogy. There are 3 games on this disc, so how could you possibly go wrong? The first Die Hard game has Bruce Willis working his way through the Nakatomi building shooting terrorists with some of the most awkward controls you will ever use. It is really stiff, and the draw distance is really low. They don't even hide it with Nintendo 64 fog either. This plays just awful. The third game on the disc is a driving game where it's sort of like Crazy Taxi, only far worse, where you have to then defuse bombs by driving over them. And the explosion then would be far less than if you just let them go off. And they're sort of like nukes because they completely destroy New York City. This is also awful, mostly because the controls are just total crap. But the game in the middle is the second Die Hard game, Die Harder. Now, first off here, on the back of the box, it doesn't even say that it's light gun compatible. And to get the light gun to work, you have to jump through some hoops, as you have to have the regular controller plugged in up to this point in the player 1 slot, and then once you get into the game, you have to unplug it and then plug in your light gun just to play. Now, even Bruce Willis's voice clips won't help this game at all. It is a virtual cop style shooter where you're at the Dulles Airport. Now you're going to randomly dish out your own punishment on innocent civilians and terrorists alike just to save your wife, who could just land at LaGuardia, but who the heck cares? This is a Die Hard game. It doesn't need to make any sense. And there are some significant power-ups here, like a semi-automatic pistol, or a machine gun assault rifle, and maybe even some of the most overpowered shotguns of all freaking time. Eventually you will die and then you'll see the light, and then it's just game over. Everything stops from there, and you see a nice clip of an airplane crashing, killing your wife. Matter of fact, I think some people would pay good money for that, and he probably just should have walked away and continued hitting on the pretty girl at the airline counter. Overall, the Die Hard trilogy is boring, ugly, and it's not worth all the hassle you have to go through to even plug in your light gun. And it's kind of a throwaway title here. Just stay far away from this one. Finally, we come to Elemental Gearbolt, a little game brought to us by Working Designs. Now, Working Designs is known for really high production games with beautiful box art, and they're heavily sought after to this day. They're also known for their anime cutscenes, and seeing that these anime cutscenes come from Japan, you just know they're gonna be really classy. Now, the game itself is 3D levels with 2D sprites, and I am a sucker for this art style. It makes it look so beautiful. The super scaling going on, I'm in love. And the gameplay itself is really tight. But there is a little caveat to that. In order to get my light gun to work, I had to switch back and forth between a couple tube TVs, and even then I had to turn the sharpness all the way up, the contrast all the way up, and the brightness all the way up, just to get an accurate reading with my light gun. The storyline is kind of one of those nature versus technology things. I don't really want to go too deep into it, and the music really reflects the whole nature versus technology. It's very tranquil, and it's not what you think of when you think of a hardcore shooting game. Now, this might not be the best shooter on the console, even though I often tend to think it is, but it certainly is the most deep. You have 3 different weapons at your disposal from the very beginning. You have a very powerful blast with the fire shot, you have a shotgun-like blast that's a bit weaker, and you have a machine gun blast that is really great for taking out projectile weapons being used against you. But most of the time, you're gonna stick with the simple fire blast because most of your enemies can be downed in a single shot. Also, to add to the depth, there's fairies scattered around each level in these little green orbs, and they are very important for points, and points really matter. So remember to stay extremely accurate in your shooting to keep your combos going as much as possible. Shoot those little green things as much as humanly possible, and occasionally you'll even come across a chalice that's hidden throughout the level. Now, not every single weapon can collect the chalice. Different chalices have different weapon types that can only be collected with it, so keep that in mind while you're playing. Also, switching back and forth between the 3 different weapons every single time you do so gives you a little bit of points, and by little bit I mean like 10 points, so it's really not worth it unless you absolutely have to switch back and forth between them. And at the end of every single level, you can divide up whether or not you want to upgrade your character for more health and a stronger weapon, or for just more points. The better you are at this game, the more you're going to go after those points, and for most people, because this is really tough, you're probably just going to want to upgrade your character up to the max level of 14. And it is not going to be easy. Even for veteran light gun gamers, this is going to be one of the hardest video game experiences you can probably get. However, it doesn't stop me from enjoying every second of this game. Between the art style, the graphics, and just the solid gameplay, I really love it. And it is my favorite light gun game for the PlayStation 1. And that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. I had a great time making it because I love light gun games. Even the Die Hard game I kinda had an okay time with. I love Time Crisis, and you know what? This isn't all of the light gun games for the PlayStation 1 by far. Like I said, the arcades were going through a renaissance time period where light gun games were popping up left and right. This is just a small sample of such, and you know, there are tons and tons of great ones out there. So I want to know what your favorite light gun game is, so please let me know. Leave me a message, and if I don't already have it, which chances are I do, I will probably get it. And until later, I will see you again, guys.